Hi, my name is Dr. Kirsten Hunter. I'm a clinical psychologist of 24 years, and I thought we could talk about memory. Do you really have a bad memory? I have all these clients who say to me, I've got the worst memory. I hear it all the time. I've got a terrible memory. And, some people really worry about it. But memory is not that simple. And memory is really about knowing yourself and knowing what your aptitude is for memory. And when you do know that, maybe you'll be a bit less stressed, but also you can work more with how your brain works. So first of all, there's different types of memory. There's prospective memory, which is about remembering, you're going to the shops and the things that you wanted to remember to do, to buy, planning for things in advance, whether you have to write them down or you can remember them. And then there's more of a historical memory. So and that breaks off into lots of areas. So we can go back into our past history, short-term memory, we've got working memory. There's all sorts of memory. So it's not simple to say I've got a bad memory. What kind of memory? Then the next topic to explore is basically we have different aptitudes with the type of information that we might have a strength with remembering. You might have one person who is fantastic at remembering stories and remembering all of the different themes that come through and how they all intertwine, whereas someone else might be really great at remembering incredibly small details. Some people are really great with geography. Some people are great memory with regard to languages. Some people with regard to names, and some people, they're really good at recounting dialogue. Other people are not. It's really interesting. And, yes, there are some people who have phenomenal memories. They're often very detail-orientated people. And some people who are quite vague with their memories generally. And yes, it is true that when we become grandparents, our memory does tend to go downhill, but more so with regard to the short term. The long-term memories tend to stick around the longest, which is quite interesting. So what are your strengths and weaknesses? Personally, I can meet someone, I can have met someone 20 years ago and I will remember their story. I can have a client who comes after 10 years and I will remember their story. I will remember all of the different characters, the different relationships, the themes going through. I've got an incredible memory for that, and I can remember relevant details to that. And people are often quite blown away by what I can remember. I'm terrible at remembering geography with regard to detailed. If I go to a new town, remembering the new town. But linked with that, I'm terrible with languages because that's all sort of linked in. I'm not great at names, phenomenally good with faces. Whereas my husband, he's amazing with languages and he's amazing with detail and geography. So put us together and we're a good combo. Next thing with memory is that that there's different conditions that allows us to have our memory working better than not. So obviously if we're sleep deprived, the memory's not great. If we're stressed, the memory's not great. And if we are bored, so we pay attention to what makes sense to us, and so whatever your strength is, that's the type of memory you're going to encode. So if you're detail orientated and there's detail around, that might be what you absorb, whereas if someone's telling a story, that's what I will remember. So very interesting that way. If somebody is in a stress space, we're also we're not able to encode new information. So that's relevant for students who are trying to study or prepare assignments and remember what content they wanted to add. The more stressed they are, the more they're going to go blank. So that has a huge ramification there. So obviously trying to be methodical with study, but hey, who gets that right? So memory is fascinating. And when you say, I've got a terrible memory, what do you mean by that? And what was happening at the time? How much were you paying attention? What was your priority at the time? Were you enjoying it? Were you fatigued? Were you stressed? And what type of memory are you referring to? So it's a really interesting topic. Have a think about yourself. And when you know your strengths, then work with that. And with your weaknesses, work with that. So if I'm traveling, I will never try to remember the different train stops. I will write it down. And if I am trying to remember someone's family members' names, I will write them down. And details, I will write them down, and I'll just think my brain's not going to absorb that. But I'm an absolute elephant with other areas. So there you go. Find out what you're good at and embrace it. So there you go. There's memory. I love that topic. If you want to catch me online, website KirstenHunterAuthor.com and Facebook and Instagram, Kirsten Hunter Author. Thanks so much.